March the 3rd, 1992 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie. And we're so excited today as we bring you our history tape number 167. And we have a gentleman of renown with us today, and we're so pleased to continue our Black History Month even in this month of March, because this interview was just too important to pass up. And we're just so pleased to welcome to the set Mr. Randolph Reed. Welcome, Mr. Reed, to the set.
Pleased to be here.
Wonderful. It's so good to have you with us. An illustrious young man that is a native Grand Prairiean is going to be very beneficial to our history today. Mr. Reed, we'd like for you to look out into your camera and bring us up to date about your genealogy. Let's start out with your parents' full names and tell us where they came from before they came to Grand Prairie, or where their parents came from. Would you do that?
Okay. My father's name was Randolph and Reed Sr., and they were originally from Oklahoma. They moved in Grand Prairie in 1916. My mother was a native of, well, I guess they call it Shady Grove now, but they used to call it Bear Creek. And they were natives, as far as I know, as long as she lived. Both parents are deceased.
All right, would you give us your mother's full name, including her maiden name?
Okay. Her name is Rosetta Smith, and her maiden name is Rosetta Smith. And then she married my father, Rosetta Reed.
All right. Now, how about brothers and sisters? Would you like to name drop brothers and sisters?
I've got 3 brothers and 5 sisters.
All right, let's name them, shall we? And tell, do they all live in Grand Prairie?
No, I've got one brother lives in Houston.
All right, and what's his name?
His name is Harold. He's...
Okay. And he's in Houston. All right, name your other 2 brothers.
My other brother lives in Oakland, California.
Which one is that?
That's Clifford.
All right, Clifford and Oakland.
And the rest of them live in Grand Prairie. Elroy lives in Grand Prairie.
All right.
Carolyn Jean lives in Grand Prairie. Eva lives in Grand Prairie. Pearl lives in Grand Prairie. Beverly lives in Grand Prairie. And Laverne lives in Arlington.
Okay, you let Arlington get one of the sisters, didn't you? As well as some other important person in your family we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Okay, that names all of your brothers and sisters and gets us pretty much up to date on your genealogy. Now, you have a wonderful wife that you have teaching school today over at Peace Elementary School in Dallas.
Right. And
since you're retired and keep her working, you're going to have to pinch hit for her and give us her genealogy. Would you do that?
Okay. My wife is originally from Hillsborough, Texas. My father's name was Milton Gooden. My mother's name was Maribel Shelton, then married and made Gooden.
All right. Did she have any brothers and sisters, and would you like to name them if she did?
She has 1 brother and 1 sister.
All right. Would you like to name those?
Her brothers is Milton Gooden, and her sister is Cecile Gooden.
Okay. Now that gets us up to that point in your life where we've established both of you now. But now, let's get back to the real Randolph Reed. Very exciting young man. When and where were you born?
I was born in Grand Prairie in 1930.
1930. That was a magic year, wasn't it? And where were you born? In the Dalworth area?
Not really. I was born out where Gibson is. It was a farm at that particular time.
All right. Tell us about the farm where you were born.
Well, I don't know too much about it. My father was a minister.
All right.
And we moved frequently.
And you'll tell us he was a minister of what church?
He was a minister of the AME faith.
AME, and that is the Methodist affiliate, right? That is wonderful. That is great, and you're a preacher's boy. Mr. Randolph Reed, I did not ever remember that, and so that's a very exciting thing that you've added to our documentary today. All right, and if you were born on this farm, was this his farm that he was working, or was he working for someone else?
They were working for someone else at that particular time.
Do you know on whose farm this was?
No, I don't.
That's all right. That's good. All right, now, born on a farm in 1930, that was tough times, Mr. Randolph Reed. Yes, yes, I was born during those years and know about the tough times of the 29s and 30s. All right, growing up out on that farm, where did you go to school when you became of school age?
Well, I guess you call it transit because my father moved.
All right.
He was a minister and they moved him quite frequently.
All right.
So I attended school in several school districts.
Would you like to name some of the school districts?
Well, I attended school in Austin,
Austin, Texas.
Georgetown.
Okay.
I can't think of all these places. Ferris,
All right.
Denison.
You got a liberal education following your father and mother around,
Right,
didn't you?
and Waxahachie.
And Waxahachie. All right. Where did you start to school? The very first school that you ever attended?
I started my first year, where were we? I can't remember, that's been so long.
Your very first grade. What is the first school?
Oh, in Austin.
In Austin, Texas, okay. So you was in the first grade in Austin and then
Right.
on down the line?
On down the line.
All right, when you finally graduated from grammar school, as we called it.
Well, I'm trying to remember. That's kind of...
That's kind of in the
No,
past.
in Denison.
All
That's
right,
what-
in Denison.
Yes,
That's
in
good.
Denison.
And from Denison, then
We
you...
went to Waxahachie.
All right, now tell me about Waxahachie. That must really stick in your mind because that was a very important place.
Waxahachie was the place that I first got my first experience in athletics.
Okay.
And I participated in football. That's just about the only thing they had at that particular time.
All right.
And that's where I got my background. I finished high school as Oaklawn High School in Waxahachie.
All right, Oaklawn High School in Waxahachie. Now let's clue in on that just a little bit. There must have been someone in Waxahachie in the school system or close by neighbors that really was a mentor to you and encouraged you in athletics and staying in school so that you would graduate from high school, and then we're going to talk about what happened later on. Who was the mentor or somebody that really...
Mr. White.
Mr. White.
Yeah,
What did he do?
He was a math teacher.
He was a math teacher.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
And he drilled us quite often.
All
We
right.
were, it was about 4 or 5 of us in the class that excelled pretty good. And he said we thought we were too smart, so he would make up problems.
And really challenge you, wouldn't he?
Right.
All right. Now, in playing football in Waxahachie, Texas, back in about the 1939s or 40s or
1945.
45-ish, who was your coach?
Mr. Wilson.
Mr.
From
Wilson.
Ennis.
From
He was
Ennis. Mm-hmm. All right. And what place did you play on the football team? What
Well,
slot?
I played halfback at that particular time.
All right.
Yeah, we were running the single wing, and that's an old formation in football.
Yes.
Youngsters don't know anything about it, but I played a halfback at that particular time.
All right.
Yeah.
And then from Waxahachie and your first experience with athletic football, what happened next to Randolph?
Well,
Reed?
after I graduated from high school, I graduated when I was 16 years old.
What year?
And 1946.
All right. Okay, 1946 graduate, and then where did you go?
I went to the Army.
Okay, and in what part of the Army and where did you serve?
I served in the Transportation Corps in the Army. I served for 4 years. And I served all over the United States, the East Coast, the West Coast. And I went to Okinawa and Japan. I served in Okinawa and Japan.
All right, so that really broadened your travels. You
Right,
traveled all over Texas and now
Right.
in the United States, and now they sent you abroad.
Right.
That's good. What did you get from your experience in traveling in the Transportation Corps to Okinawa and Japan,
Well,
other than the Army part of it?
Well, discipline,
Discipline?
that was the main thing. That was one of the main things. Then the experience of things that you read about and you got to see.
Yes, yes.
You read about a whole lot of things, but you don't get a chance to see them. And I, over the United States and then overseas,
Yes.
that was one of my greatest experiences. I wouldn't take anything for it.
Oh, yes. All right, and when were you relieved of your military service, and what were you when you got out of the Army? Were you still a buck private, or?
I was a private.
You was a private. That's the easiest one to be.
That's right.
You bet.
I got out of the Army in May 1950 because they were trying to get me to stay in the reserve And I told them no, and the Korean War broke out in June.
Oh, you were a lucky 1 month man, weren't you?
Right.
All right, and so after May 1950, leaving the Army Transportation Corps, what happened to Randolph Reed then?
Well, after I got out of the Army, I was married. I was married twice. My first wife. I was in California, and we divorced, and I moved back to Texas. So I came to Texas, and I went back home, Houston. We were living, my dad and them living in Houston.
In Houston. The Reverend has now moved to Houston, hasn't he? Okay.
And I came back home, and I was going to get a job. But my dad said, no, you don't need a job. He put me in he put me in his car and drove me to Waco to Paul Quinn College.
To Paul Quinn?
Yeah, it got me enrolled.
And I think that is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, and at Paul Quinn College, after all of your service
right.
in the Army, now how did you set your goals and what were you studying? What was your career pattern?
Well, my career was, at that particular time, I wanted to be a director in the YMCA when I went to school. And that was my intention.
All right.
But after I got to school, I started, you know, you get around and you do a lot of things and you begin to think. So that didn't pan out. In between 1950 and Paul Quinn College, I played 1 year pro football with 49ers in 1950.
1950 with the 49ers. And please tell me what slot you played there.
I played linebacker.
Linebacker. And where all did that take you over the United States?
Well, you know, we got to go. That was called the Old American Football League.
Oh, it was. All right.
And they had two teams in New York, Cleveland, Buffalo, San Francisco, Los Angeles. I'm trying to remember all of them. Philadelphia. And there's some others I can't remember right off. Oh, in Chicago.
What pulled you out of the leagues in the football league?
Well, I got homesick.
Homesick, and they weren't paying you $1 million a game like they play some of the buddies today.
Well, at that particular time, I think the money was sufficient for that particular time because it amounted to just about the same as now. But I got homesick and I decided I'd come home.
I see. And so that's when you went to Houston and then went back to Paul Quinn College.
Right.
All right. Now, during Paul Quinn College, did you change your major and minors several times?
No, I majored in physical education.
All right.
And minored in English and social studies.
All right. And after you graduated from Paul Quinn, or after you had had a...
I graduated in January of 1954.
1954. All right.
And I stayed enrolled in school, you know, just for the remainder of the school year. And during that time, I came to Grand Prairie and applied for a job. Mr. Dang was the principal.
All right.
Dalworth.
All right. Now let me get all of this about Dalworth. You came to Dalworth and applied from David Daniel?
Yes, he was the principal.
All right. And that was between the January and May period you were...
I was doing...
All right.
And at that particular time, he didn't have a job for me, so he sent me to Arlington.
All right.
They didn't have a job. So in the meantime, I forgot to tell you, my daddy was pastoring in Port Arthur.
All right.
At that particular time.
All right.
So I went back to Port Arthur and worked for about 2 months in the steel factory.
All right.
And in July of that year, I started looking for a job, and I was in Sulphur Springs being interviewed for a job. And my dad called and told me, asked me had I signed a contract. I said no. He said, well, don't sign one. Tell the man to get you to the bus station because you got a job in Grand Prairie.
Way to go.
Right.
Right. And so you came on to Grand Prairie in what year?
1954.
1954 to to Dalworth, where Mr. Daniel was the principal,
Right.
and Dalworth Dragons.
Right. Well, that was,
Right.
they were, at that particular time, through the 8th grade.
Just through the 8th grade, okay. And what were you teaching in Dalworth, and what grade?
My first year, I taught 4th and 5th grade.
And that might have been English and the sciences plus
Everything.
Everything, okay.
That was a combination of everything in the class.
Okay, and then how long, tell us about your career then at Dalworth.
Well, the next year we made it to high school.
All right.
And that's why my coaching.
1955 is when Dalworth became a high school.
Right.
All right.
That's what my coaching career is. Well, I was coaching during the elementary school, but we don't call that coaching.
Yes, yes. But you're doing real coaching now in that
Right.
high school.
I started coaching high school.
Okay.
And from there on until 1967, I stayed at Dalworth to 1967.
All right, 55 to 1967, and during that period of time, name me some of the more illustrious and some of the outstanding people that went through your coaching tutorage.
Well, I started the athletic program at Dalworth, and many of the kids had never seen a football game and never seen football.
Oh, that's exciting.
So my first year I had 15 players.
15 players.
And I had to get in to make up some surpluses. Sometimes we had one side of the line to practice on one side, so I had to practice with them. Had to take part with them because we didn't have enough players.
Yes.
And then after that, we began to progress pretty good. In 1957, I got another coach to come.
All right, name this other coach that came with you.
Adolph Jackson.
Oh, yes. And he's your next coach. He's your assistant, isn't he?
Yeah, he came in 1957. He came from Bonham.
Okay.
And in 1958, we added 2 more coaches, Boston Grant
All right.
and Reggie Brown.
Yes, sir. Reggie Brown. Added some more coaches. You had a real complement then, didn't you?
We had 4 coaches. In 1958, we played for the state championship. We lost.
All right, where was this game played?
This game was played down at Prairie Park. We called it the Mosquito Bowl.
Played at the Mosquito Bowl. Tyree Park, that Mr. Ed Hemphill is on the case of the council all the time about getting that thing fixed up.
Right.
Okay. Okay, at Tyree Park.
Right.
And were there a lot of people there?
We had a lot of people. We always had a lot of people at our game. You know, we just had bleachers on one side, and, and they had a place where you could drive your cars or sit in your cars and watch the game. So if it was cold, they could always sit in the cars and watch.
Who did you play? What team did you play?
We played Livingston, Texas.
Livingston, Texas. How badly did they beat you?
We got beat by 2 points.
2 points.
Amazing thing about that is, at that particular time, we scored more touchdowns. That's when the 2-point conversion came in. They scored 3 and made all theirs. We didn't make extra points.
Yes, and that's what beat you.
That's what beat us.
Oh, but wasn't that an experience?
That's right.
All right, name me some of the people that played on your 1958 championship team.
That was Charlie Taylor.
All right.
Ernest Turner.
And that's Ernest
Turner.
Turner, okay.
Okay. Warren Oliver. James Fred McGriff. I'm trying to remember all these.
All right.
James Fred.
Well, I recognize a couple of 3 of these, but especially one. Do you really feel that Charlie Taylor is probably the best product that you ever ran through your recycling of football players?
Well, we had Ernest Turner, that's the reason I mentioned him.
Yes.
he was the best athlete we had. But the only thing about Ernest was, after football season, I always got in trouble.
Oh, he did? Oh, my.
He went on to, but he finished school. They all finished school at the same time.
Yes.
And he went out to Big Springs.
All right.
At Henderson Junior College and made All-American his first year playing basketball.
From football to basketball.
Right. Well, he was an exceptional athlete.
Uh-huh.
For 3 years, he played center for us.
Yes.
Because he was the best center, I didn't want to lose him.
Yes.
And in his senior year, we put him in quarterback.
Yeah.
And he excelled in quarterback.
Oh.
He was, I guess it's called for number. Both of them, all of them, were good athletes. But he was one of the athletes that we never knew how fast he could run.
Yes.
We never knew how high he could jump, because he would just do things just enough to win.
Yes.
You never knew.
Uh-huh. And then got in trouble afterward.
Yeah,
okay.
we competed against all the Dallas schools. And everybody knew us, knew of us, because I always told the kids, I always liked to, the best competition. I didn't care what size of school. We were the Class A, and we were playing 4A schools that time.
Yes.
And that is what we try to do. We always try to give them the best of competition, so whenever they go, they would go anywhere.
Give me about a minute about Charlie Taylor, who now I believe coaches the Redskins.
Right.
But then I want to get to Scooter pretty soon. So just a little bit about Charlie Taylor.
Okay, Charlie went to Arizona State and made All-American as a defensive back.
Yes.
And he was drafted in 1964, 65, something, I forgot what year, and went to Washington, and he made the Rookie of the Year. But playing for us, he was an exceptional athlete. He made All-State playing football, was a state hurdles champion, played basketball, played baseball. We had a baseball team at one time. And so he said they were exceptional athletes.
Does he look you up when he comes to town?
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Me, yeah.
Called you.
And whenever they play Dallas, he'll call me to see if I need some tickets.
How wonderful.
Right.
All right, now let's get to your family. You and your wonderful wife have one son. We need to name drop him, and especially his nickname.
Scooter Reed.
All right, Scooter Reed. What's his real name?
Milton.
Milton. All right. Milton, was he named for your father?
He was named from my wife's father, and my father's name is Milton Randolph. He was named for both fathers.
That is great. All right. And where does Scooter live?
Scooter lives in Arlington.
Does he have any children?
He has 2.
All right, name those grandchildren.
Milton and Miltoya.
Milton and Miltoya.
Yes.
And where are they in school in Arlington?
At Moore Elementary School in Arlington.
And do you ever get to see them?
Yes, quite often, most often.
Oh, and you love those grandkids.
Well, they spend every other weekend with us.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is just super. You have one of the most exciting stories. What you doing now? Since your wife is over in Dallas at the school,
I mostly take care of home, and I do a little printing for churches and schools, and
that's great.
Do little signs. I do a little artwork, something. Yes.
Okay, and do you have operate out of your garage? Or?
Out of my garage.
That's great, isn't it? You're an entrepreneur as well as being a retired teacher, coach, Army person, a real important mentor in Arlington area with your grandkids over there, and in Grand Prairie, Texas, since you still reside here. What do you think about Dalworth today?
Well, I've been there since 1954.
Yes.
And I've had offers. I had some offers in an early coaching career to go to Dallas to coach, and I turned them down. I offered Fort Worth to go to coach, and I turned them down. I told them I liked where I lived, and I liked, like the people where I lived. At one particular time, I knew everybody out there, and they knew me. Most of them still know me, and I don't know them.
That's true.
And it's sort of got in a little bit of decay.
But we're working on that.
Problem.
We're working on that, aren't we?
Yeah, we're working on that, and the police department has done a wonderful job the last few weeks.
Yes.
Everything is real nice, almost like it used to be.
With a real crackdown.
Right.
Where do you go to church?
I go to church, I belong to church in Dallas, the church my father built.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Good. You want to name drop it?
Smith Chapel AME Church.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I had their minister on this dais about 2 or 3 months ago, so it's wonderful to know
Yeah.
that you're with the Smith Chapel group.
Yeah, I'm a trustee of the church, so
All right. I want you to look right out into this
Okay.
camera, and I want you to give about 1 minute exhortation to all the young people. Tell them what you'd like to tell them, how important it is to pay attention and excel.
From my experience, education is the key. Without education, you don't have anything. Sometimes I know some kids fall back upon, they see quite a few celebrities that they have not been to school. But in their endurance and training and things, they have gone back to get an education. So education is the key to all endeavors. So that's what you'd have to.
Wonderful. That's the final message you'd
Right.
like to leave with
Right.
them, that in order to really get along in the world, if they'll
Right.
get their education
Right.
and then go for it.
Right.
Mr. Randolph Reed, it has been so wonderful to interview you. We had a couple of 3 pictures here. Is this your
That's my
wife?
wife.
You better hold your wife's picture up or we are in bad trouble. You bet.
That's my wife.
All right. Let's get a picture of this. Well, hold it up just a little bit more so we can get her in on that. Okay. Hold this one up with you and Charlie Taylor, and I believe that's Mr.
Reggie
Brown. Yes.
Reggie Brown and Charlie Taylor. This is when they inducted him into the Texas Hall of Fame.
This looks like the championship team there. You want to take this one next?
Yeah. This is
That your championship
that's
team?
the first football team.
That's the first football team,
First
and let's
football
hold
team
him.
at Dallas High School.
Oh, that is great.
And the championship team is.
Oh, yes. If there's something else you need to show,
This
you
is-
better
this
show
is-
and tell.
This is the 1958 state runner-up. We came in second by 2 points.
By second, by 2 points. That's wonderful. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being with us
Okay.
today, and sorry
Okay.
we didn't take more time with our show
That's
and
all
tell.
right. That's fine.
And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.